Welcome to Module 2 of the 2018 District 6290 Online Grant Management Seminar. I'm Al Bonney, and I am the District 6290 Rotary Foundation Committee Chair. In our previous module, we looked at how the Rotary Foundation mission relates to your club projects, how your club members' donations to the annual fund of the Rotary Foundation turn into matching grants, and the 4 key components of the Rotary Matching Grant Program. Rotary's global grants support communities worldwide. This module will help you plan a sustainable project, identify measurable outcomes, apply for a global grant, and manage your grant funds. Building sustainable projects with measurable and lasting outcomes and managing grant funds responsibly are requirements for all global grants. Let me turn this seminar over to our District Grants Chairman, Ken Weaver. Ken is from the Traverse City Rotary Club, and his contact information is on the list of District Grant Committee members that you downloaded just before this video.
Greetings, I am Ken Weaver, and as Al said, the Chair of the District Grants Committee. Module 2 focuses on global grants. The first section of Module 2 will focus on the District Grants Committee, your best friend if you are planning on applying for a global grant. The District Grants Committee administers our grants program. Your understanding of our role and how we can help you is important. Our team is made up of Rotarians from around our district with the goal of helping your club be successful in grant applications. Please call on any member of the committee for guidance and support. If we don't know the answer to your questions, we will help you find them. The committee's other job is to review and approve funding for 3 types of grants: district local grants, district international grants, and global grants. Our committee meets monthly by conference call on the 3rd Thursday of every month. You downloaded a page outlining the funding schedule. In short, global grant applications will be reviewed on the same schedule as the district grants. Please be sure to read this page carefully so you do not miss the July 1 to October 15 window for the first round of global grant applications. We've already talked about qualification in the other modules, but I want to mention them again. The 2018-19 criteria for qualifying for Rotary matching grants is in the supplementary materials you downloaded earlier. This document is also on the district website. Please be sure you follow these criteria to the letter. You have a serious responsibility as the club representative taking this GMS course to be sure your club is aware of these requirements and has completed them all correctly and on time. To be eligible to receive matching funds from 6290 district designated funds, your club must have given at least $100 per capita to the annual fund of the Rotary Foundation in the previous Rotary year. If your club has not met this threshold by June 30, 2018, it cannot receive matching funds from the DDF, but you can apply for global grants. Your club will have access to the 0.5 to 1 match from the World Fund, matching the club cash in the grant application. Your per capita calculation will be made using the July 1st, 2017 Rotary International membership records. At least 2 Rotarians from your club with a membership of 20 or more, or only 1 if your club has fewer than 20 members, based upon Rotary International records as of July 1, 2017, must attend a grant management seminar in person or online before applying for a grant. Any Rotarian signing a grant application, except the club president and anyone listed as grant project chairperson, must have taken a grant management seminar. Global grant applications ready between July 1 and October 15, 2018 are due on October 15 and will be reviewed on November 13 at the same time as the district grants. After November 13, global grants may be reviewed monthly if DDF funds are available. If you are planning on a global grant next year, please be sure you are familiar with this change in the application schedule and review process. You will find more information on this change in the document called Changes to 6290 Global Grant Application Process that you downloaded earlier. Send your completed combined Memorandum of Understanding and addendum to the District Stewardship Chair as a separate file before you apply for a grant. The MOU is not part of the grant application, and if you send them as one file with a grant, it becomes difficult to tell whether your club has met all of the grant's requirements. October 15, 2018 is an important deadline when it comes to qualifying for and applying for a district grant or a global grant. Make sure your club is clear about this date. There is one more resource provided by the Rotary Foundation called the Global Grant Resource Page that you also downloaded before this video. It is full of helpful links pertaining to creating a successful global grant application. Please do not try to undertake a global grant without having reviewed this list of resources first. Global grant projects must be a minimum of $30,000 in total size. $8,500 to $10,000 comes from club cash from one or more qualified clubs. Then the matches kick in and you end up with $30,000 to $35,000 in cash for your project. Global grants must meet the TRF terms and conditions for grants. The terms and conditions are available on the district website and are also on the Global Grant Resources list of links. It's important that you reach out to our District Grants Committee. You can also talk with the Rotary Foundation staff to make sure your idea for a global grant falls within our requirements and will be successful. Please do not go off and work by yourself without discussing your grant first with someone experienced. We have resources. We can find out answers to questions. We can make sure your time on this grant is spent efficiently. There is no limit to the number of global grant applications your club can submit each year. The applications can be for a project that your club is doing on your own, or it can be for a collaborative project with one or more clubs joining the project. We have a number of global grants going on in 6290. All our grants are considered humanitarian projects. They range from simple projects like shipping used hospital equipment to assist a hospital in a third world country, to a larger, more complicated grant, such as digging 40 wells to benefit 40 different communities. But global grants can also be made in the U.S. If you have an idea for a U.S.-based project, you need to contact a club in another country and see if they will be the international partner and your club will be the host partner. If you have thoroughly planned your project using the above criteria, it's time to begin drafting the application. Go to the Rotary Grants Center located in the Foundation drop-down menu at My Rotary. We will walk through how to get to this later in this module. Give yourself plenty of time to complete the application and get authorization from the necessary parties. If your application meets the requirements, your project will be funded. Your application is not competing with other projects. Once you begin the application process on the Rotary International website, you can save your work and come and go as you wish. You do not need to fill it out all at once, but be sure to save each page before going on to the next, or you will lose your data on that page. Before this video started, you downloaded a global grant application template. Please have that document in hand for the next sections of this module. Let's walk through the application steps so you understand the questions you will need to answer, the research you will need to do, and the standards you will need to meet so your application will be successful. The first couple of steps are pretty basic data, so we will move to step 4. A successful global grant requires a relationship between your club, the international club, and a club in the country where the project will take place, the host club. It is better if your host club generates the project done in their own backyard. Think about how you would feel if someone came from a foreign country and told you what you need to do in your own community. After you find your host club partner and agree on a project, the areas of focus it will address will be clear and you can fill in step 4. We spent some time in the first module on areas of focus. The Rotary Foundation considers this section to be very important. Both you and the host club need to be qualified in each club's own district. You have the 6290 list of qualifying criteria. Your host club partner may have different qualification criteria from their district. It is important that each club is qualified or the grant will not be approved. Get this sorted out right now. Local participation and support is so important to a project's success. Rotary asks local sponsoring clubs to conduct a community needs assessment as the first step. The host club, naturally, does this. Be sure they talk with everyone. Don't assume the solution until you determine the problem. For example, if children are sick, maybe rather than treat the sickness, we should be figuring out what they need to do to prevent the sickness rather than waiting for them to get sick. Make sure you understand the problem before you work out a solution. A good needs assessment will provide baseline data which will lead you to your final measurable goals. From these solid data, you can measure the project's effect on the community. There is a new form for reporting the results of community needs assessment as a requirement for a global grant. You are now ready for step 5, measuring success. Monitoring and evaluation cannot happen without clear, measurable outcomes. These must be built into your project from the very beginning based on the community needs assessment. They carry all the way through to the end of the project. The foundation will not approve your project unless they see measurable outcomes included in your project. If you have done the needs assessment thoroughly, you will have a good base data from which to establish your measurable outcomes. Now is the time to do that. Step 6 is just establishing where your project will take place. You will certainly have that information by now. In step 7, you were asked about other participants in the grant project. Most of this section is clear enough, but a word about cooperating organizations. A cooperating organization can provide technical expertise, advocacy, training, education, or other support. If you are working with a cooperating organization, both clubs and the organization must complete a cooperating organization memorandum of understanding before beginning your project. Although other organizations and volunteers may play a large role, the sponsoring Rotary clubs are ultimately responsible for the outcome of a project. The cooperating organization MOU can be found on the Global Grant Resources document that you downloaded before watching this video. It's important to understand the difference between what Rotary calls a cooperating organization and a beneficiary. A beneficiary would be a school or medical facility that receives funds and equipment as part of the grant. Cooperating organizations cannot receive benefits from a grant. Make sure if you are working with organizations providing both know-how as a cooperating organization and also receiving benefits as part of the grant, that you mark them down as a beneficiary, not as a cooperating organization. Again, ask if you have questions. In step 8, you'll be asked to provide details about your budget. Be specific and detailed about what you will spend money on, how many of each item, and so forth. It is best if you buy locally, that is, in the host country. You may need to price the budget in local currency, but be sure to convert using Rotary's currency conversion rates back into US dollars for the budget on your application. In step 9, you list where you are getting the money you are bringing to the project. Be sure all the clubs you have participating are qualified for grant matching funds. You do not need to have all the cash in your hands at this time, but you will be asked to have written commitments from your participating partners regarding the funds they will bring to the table. Note that you will need to add 5% of the club cash in the project as a budgeted expense item to pay TRF for their cost of processing these funds. Our district will only match funds from qualified clubs in our district. Other clubs, organizations, or individuals can join in the project, but their contributions will not be matched by District 6290 funds. Make sure when you are done with steps 8 and 9 that both the total revenue and the total expense numbers are the same. In step 10, you are asked about your plan to make your project sustainable. Global grants require the practices listed on the slide because they will ensure that your global grant will be sustainable. Ask yourself the question, once the Rotarians go away, what will happen to the project? Explain how the project will continue and how they have the capacity to do it after Rotarians have moved on. There are also several questions about your planning. How will you implement the project, and more about your funding and your budget? All these questions lead toward sustainability, so answer them simply and carefully. Although your global grant applications are filled out online, the District Grant Committee must approve DDF for your grant before the foundation will look at it. When you have completed step 11, review and lock, the foundation will alert our district governor and grants committee that your grant is ready for review. Be sure this takes place before October 15, 2018. A team of 2 district grants committee members will be assigned to review your application. They will contact you if they have any questions. It is important to note that incomplete applications will not be reviewed until they are complete. The Grants Committee meets on November 13, 2018 to approve funding for your grant. A representative from your club will be asked to participate by conference call to explain the project and answer any questions the committee might have regarding the application. The committee will share its decisions soon after the review is completed. Following the district committee approval for your grant, a foundation team will review your application in more detail based on all the things we've been talking about here. You should fully expect that questions will be asked. This does not indicate there are problems with the project. It simply means they would like more information before approving it. Answering their questions simply, succinctly, and quickly will help your project moving forward. Once your global grant has been approved by the Rotary Foundation, they will work with you on how you will manage, monitor, evaluate, and report. It is critical that you follow all of their instructions and submit your reports on time and forward a copy to Bob Marcus, our stewardship chair. Your club will need to set up a separate bank account for the Global Grant Award before they will send you the check. All the requirements for fiscal stewardship are contained in the MOU that we discussed in Module 1. Fiscal stewardship is an ongoing requirement for any grant project. The financial management plan you develop during the project planning helps you keep track of grant funds, promotes transparency to all involved, and safeguards against misuse. It also facilitates reporting. The financial management plan is a guide for record keeping. Keeping track of your finances and overall progress will help you monitor your budget, evaluate your success after the project is completed, and have all of your project information ready for required reporting to the foundation. Make sure everyone involved in the project keeps receipts, financial documents, and communications. Now that you have the money and the project is beginning to roll, you and your host club partner need to manage the work, monitor the progress, evaluate the results, and report your progress to the foundation. Managing the project means staying abreast of the work is being done, so you know if there are problems that need to be fixed. Monitoring is the continual process of collecting specific data. It uses the measures and benchmarks you outlined in your grant application to track the progress of your project. Evaluation is an assessment of how well your project is achieving your objectives. To do all this, at a minimum, both host and international sponsors must communicate with each other and the benefiting community regularly about the project. Contact the regional grants officer as soon as questions arise. Get pre-approval from each other and Rotary for any changes to the project scope or budget. And finally, report to the foundation every 12 months until the project is complete. Grant sponsors that have overdue reports will not be awarded new grants until all previous reporting requirements are fulfilled. That will jeopardize your club's and our district's ability to apply for grants in the future. Please make sure that you make this part of the process a priority. Reports are due 1 year from the time the grant dollars are dispersed, and then annually until the project is completed.